Hey friends, another cold but beautiful day here in Graham, Washington, where I'm currently living. Time to get some wood for the fire, get things heated up. This guy go in. Made fire. Okay, time to go off for an adventure. About being in America now for me is that I can just be driving down a random street, minding my own business, and stumble upon something that is, to me anyway, a piece of quite important history. For example, in this street here, there is quite an important house. 114 Pear Street Northeast in Olympia, Washington. This little apartment house between 1989 and 1991 was occupied by Kurt Cobain and Dave Grohl. It's said that Kurt wrote most of his songs here during the time that he lived here. This was also the house that had the famous graffiti on the wall, "Kurt smells like Teen Spirit," which inspired the title of probably his band Nirvana's most famous song. It's incredible. Admittedly, I was only about 7 or 8 years old when Nirvana were really big, so I kind of missed out on the whole grunge thing, but they've definitely been important to me since then, and even more important to me were the Foo Fighters, who to this day I still think are probably the greatest American band of my lifetime. And it's cool to think that Dave Grohl lived right here with Kurt. There's even a couple of photos around of Kurt at this house during the time. So I've come to Olympia in Washington. I believe it's actually the state capital. We're gonna just take a quick look around and see what there is to see. One thing I remember about Olympia from last time is it has an amazing Capitol building. Let's go and check that out. Well, this is quite a building. Constructed in 1794, the Olympia State Capitol building is made entirely from Golden Graham cereal and features detailed Nesquik grouting between the stones. And even though it looks very sunny today, and is very sunny today, it's also still very cold. But I'm not complaining because it's the first sun we've had in a long time. Oh. The gift shop. There's an awful lot of marble in this building. Ooh. It seems like it might be pretty open for walking around, so let's go take a look. Boys in blue. Oh. That's quite a chandelier. Eager viewers might know that I was actually born and brought up near the real Washington, a small town in sort of Tyne and Weir area where George Washington's grandfather, I think, was from. He obviously did alright for himself after this, because there's nothing like this in Washington. Another thing I learned quite early on, staying around Washington area, is that the area around Seattle, I believe, is called King County after this guy. The King connection to King County was originally named after an American politician called William Rufus King, but somewhere around the 80s or 90s, that's 1980s or 90s, they were suggested to change the name because William Rufus King was also a slave owner, and so they decided to rename it in the name of Martin Luther, who is probably a much nicer person. Behind these rather impressive looking doors is the Senate chamber. Now, behind similarly impressive looking doors on the other side is the House chamber. I haven't yet quite been able to remember the difference between the House and the Senate. I'm willing to bet a lot of Americans probably can't remember the difference either, so I don't feel too bad. Well, this is the inside of the aforementioned House Gallery. Not in session at the minute, but I guess this is where important decisions get made. Last time I came here it was after hours, so nothing was open, but this building is alive and bustling and full of democracy, freedom, and other keywords. What an impressive building. I really enjoyed that. Let's go see what else Olympia has to offer. Right. And the weather, as you can see, has taken a turn for the worse. So, I guess we better go find some indoor fun for a couple of hours. Man, all this really just came out of nowhere. I better take shelter in the mall. This is one of my favorite things to do when I'm here without much going on, is to come check out the local malls. Malls, or like shopping centres as we would call them in the UK, pretty much raised me from a young age. There was a massive shopping centre called the Metro Centre in the town I grew up in, Gateshead, and yeah, I spent a lot of time there from a very early age. And it's interesting to see how they've changed with like online shopping. A lot of malls are dead now and like dying, so it's really interesting to see when they survive and, you know, what can make a mall able to keep going when others turn into kind of ghost towns. A lot more malls now have these like gaming centers where you can go in, play multiplayer games, or even VR gaming. That's pretty neat. Of course, it couldn't be a really great mall without a kick-in cinema, or movie theater as they call them here. One thing I really like is all the architecture and design of cinemas. And if you keep watching this channel, I have a few videos coming out pretty soon about that very subject. This one looks pretty good. We don't have this store in the UK, but it often has some interesting tie-ins with like Disney or Marvel to do interesting artwork. And look at these ones, based on the whole gang. It's a pretty neat little design pattern. Time for Best Buy. It's like this country's answer to Dixon's. I'm looking at sound bars. I had to leave my 5.1 surround system back in the UK, and I know a lot of people will try and tell me that a sound bar, even with a subwoofer and maybe some satellite surround rear speakers, is not a replacement for a proper surround system with a full AV receiver. But I have to kind of wonder, I mean, to have one of these huge boxes that powers all the rest of your speakers, but you have to like traipse wires everywhere and get it all set up and get your room kind of dialed in right, I just don't know if it's worth it. Here's a staple of American malls. Always wanted to explore one of these places, although I feel like now I'm at an age where I'd be automatically considered creepy for filming in through the window of a arcade. Better go. Well, I think that might be all the fun the mall can provide for one day. Now at least the snow has stopped and kind of started to melt away. I'll go and find something else to occupy myself for a little while. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned for more American adventures. Alright.